What's going on, guys? Matt and Greg here with Project Unbroken, and today's video we want to talk about the 5 steps you need to take before you start tapering off to reduce the effects of withdrawal. So we got a couple things here that I think are really important, but before we get into any of these steps, I think the biggest thing we want to address is you have to start this earlier on in the process than I think people understand.
Yeah.
You don't want to wait until you're hurting before you start putting these things into play. Because as we all know, nobody wants to do anything when they're withdrawing.
Hell no.
And these things aren't gonna work unless you start them before that point, to avoid that point. The whole purpose of this video is to show you guys things that we did to minimize the effects of withdrawal through a maintenance tapering off of a maintenance program like Suboxone or Methadone.
And really, this could work for any drug. Like people who are on Xanax, they slowly taper as well. But we're mainly talking about Suboxone and Methadone here.
Yes. Well, I'll get right into it. The first one, and Greg and I reference this in a lot of our videos, is you got to separate yourself from any and all temptations. Mm-hmm. I'd say specifically people who are going to be kind of dragging you back into it.
Yeah, because as you're coming down, as you start getting to the point you may feel a little bit of withdrawal, if there's any sort of easy way to get it to kind of fix how you're feeling and that fix is there, you're a lot more likely to go back to it. Whereas if you kind of get rid of that before you ever start that and it's not really an option, I mean, it's always an option, but if it's a much harder option and it takes a lot more work and effort to get to that option, then you're just going to increase your chances of success.
Yeah, I remember when I was coming off of Suboxone completely, I was pretty far away from the whole lifestyle that I was in with heroin. But I remember just thinking, I don't even know if I could really find heroin easily.
Yeah.
If I wanted to.
I mean, it would pretty much take, for me at this point, or just beyond where I quit and got rid of all my numbers, like going to the block.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is a pretty substantial step. I'm risking a lot there. So
yeah, absolutely. And of course it's not easy, and a lot of people, write in, because we talk about this in some of our videos, and they're like, well, I can't get away from this person, or I can't get away from that person. You can, but right now it might not be a priority for you. So we know, best friends, family members, significant others, spouses, these are a lot of times the people that are holding us in our addiction. And yeah, that's one of the hardest steps to take. But if you really want to move forward with your life, there's no way around this one. It's step one. You got to get rid of that. And it's really hard, but sometimes it's like ripping a Band-Aid. You just got to cut those ties and separate yourself. And who knows, Greg and I had to do that. And now, we're best friends again. We were lucky it kind of came full circle. Doesn't always work out like that. But you got to be willing to cut it loose. And, in order for anybody to get better, at least one of you has got to get better. And you can go from there.
For some people, a great option is if you have maybe a mom and a dad, and mom lives further away. If you have an aunt who lives maybe a state, or who cares, across the country. If you have a situation like that, consider that, where you kind of move somewhere else for a little bit. That completely eliminates, any chance. Well, not completely, but much higher elimination of chances of that happening. So consider that as well if it's an option. Neither of us had. Actually, I moved to Vegas once in an attempt to do that, but Vegas was a horrible place to move because I just fell right back into it. But again, it is a good option if it's there. The next thing on our list, number 2, would be to taper slowly. Now, I think a lot of people, they comment on our videos and they misunderstand the slow taper. I had a guy comment on one of my Methadone videos, and he was like, there's no way, I know this video is fake because you said you experienced no withdrawal. I didn't say no withdrawal, I said very little withdrawal. He's like, there's no way that's true. I've tried coming down milligram every other day. I'm like, if you watch the video, I came down a milligram a week, and then when I hit 10 milligrams, I came down a milligram every 2 weeks. So I went extremely slow with my taper, and that's what you gotta do. You gotta come down really slow. Same thing with Suboxone, but obviously the milligrams and the amounts are different. Coming down a milligram on Suboxone is much quicker. You may need to eventually go to coming down a 1/4 of a milligram or a 1/2 a milligram. Take it very slow, and it's going to work out much better.
Yeah, I think a lot of people understandably want to rush this process because, we're all familiar. You get to the point, your life's unmanageable. You don't want to be stuck in this shit anymore, and you're ready to quit. When you're at that point, you just have to understand, all right, now we're in the recovery process, which is awesome. Don't feel like you need to rush that, though. I think a lot of times people try to rush it, or they just get Suboxone off the street in an effort to, move the process along, and you'll realize that you'll be stuck pretty quickly. Find a reputable doctor or program that is willing to work with you on a timeline that has a little bit of flexibility, that will, allow for you to kind of steer the ship and go off of how you feel, because stressful situations happen. This is already a stressful period in your life, obviously, and you just have to be patient with yourself. Slow but steady is absolutely the way to get there.
Yeah, and again, at some points, I think you were on 0.5 milligram or 1/4 milligram for a couple months.
Oh yeah,
you made the dip. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you said at the end you kind of did the dust, like you had the little dust down there. You did like a little dust, which may be like less than 1/4 milligram.
Exactly, and again, I don't. We've had the arguments in the comments section flare up on this. It's hard to tell. I remember doing that where I would get like that orange dust from the pill bottle and just kind of hit it under my tongue where you put the pill to let it dissolve. And because I've said before, I don't know if this is placebo or if it's really working or what. My doctor said at that point, he was like, it's placebo. You're good.
And I think that helped you, but I think also the next step in our list helped you more than anything.
Yeah.
So I'll let you introduce that one because you know a lot more about it.
And I'm gonna again preface by saying you have to start this stuff early on in the maintenance program for it to be effective when you need it, which is coming off of the maintenance program. But the next two of them I think are really important, but this one is huge, and it's diet. It's what you're putting into your body. So I have a video where I go in depth on this, and I'll talk about it again in depth now. What you're putting into your body has a lot to do with the way that your mind works. And Greg and I probably didn't figure this out until a little bit later on in this whole process.
What's crazy is I watched that video, Matt shot it by himself, and I watched it, and even though I knew the information, hearing him say it, I was like, oh shit, that's so true. Even now, out of my addiction, I feel great all around. I have days where I eat like shit and I feel like shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're putting a whole bunch of processed food and you're eating a bunch of sugar, you're gonna feel like shit, and that is not gonna help your recovery at all. So
no, and there's a lot of things that go into it. One, what you eat has a lot to do with inflammation in the body and inflammation in the brain, and it just really affects your cognitive ability. That's one huge part of it. So, a lot of when we talk about that foggy feeling or that hazy feeling, a lot of that has to do with just how you're eating. Because I'll get that if I eat like shit over a weekend. Mm-hmm. I'll feel like I'm just in a daze for 24 hours. Also, serotonin is the hormone produced and stored in the gut, and that is the feel-good hormone. So that's what allows us to feel happy, to feel a sense of accomplishment, to feel good about ourselves. That is crucial when you're going through a maintenance program or coming out of a maintenance program. If you're not able to have the gut bacteria or the gut biome to have a good place to grow or to produce serotonin, it's a non-starter. You're not going to be able to make any traction. So even the things that you're trying to do to make yourself feel better aren't going to take hold. Diet has a lot to do with that. We need to have a good environment in our bodies to have our bodies and our minds behave in the way that they're supposed to. So if you're, like Greg said, if you're feeding yourself just junk and sugar and soda and the things that our pleasure zone in our mind think we want to eat, it's going to really mess you up. in kind of moving forward.
Yeah, there's one of my favorite sayings is for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. You put junk in your body, you're gonna feel like junk. You put good stuff in your body, you're gonna feel good. You treat people good stuff's gonna come back to you. So I mean, it just goes with that. We got an email, someone who watched Matt's video about that. He's been an addict for 20 years, and he's like, holy shit. He was like, I've been talking to doctors and everyone for 20 years. I tried what Matt said in his video, which was, specific diet stuff. He's like, I feel the best I've ever felt. And this was 3 days later.
Yeah.
3 days after eating good. So I mean, what are some of those changes they can make? Like, I know one of the first changes you told me was just drink water. I was drinking like a whole bunch of like sodas and tea and all that type of shit. He's like, cut all that out, just drink water. And I think my next step was, getting rid of the processed food, which is anything that's like packaged. Eat more fruit, vegetables, meat, nuts, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely all of the above. So mostly vegetables is huge, and I get it. And a lot of people, it's crazy to me, but Greg hated, like, you didn't drink water really at all.
Even at one time, I remember sitting in a circle during group, and I was like, Matt, what about like Propels? You're like, motherfucker, man up, just drink some water.
You gotta just drink water. Like, I mean, again, people will write in, they're like, what about this? What about that? Just drink water. Like, and you're good.
You can put some lemon in it and stuff.
Yeah, people put cucumbers and lemons and shit in there. Do what you need to do, or just chug it and get it over with. It will absolutely be a game changer for you. As far as food's concerned, I get it. A lot of people don't like eating fruits and vegetables, which again is crazy to me. I think only because I've been doing it for so long now.
But you also know how they make you feel.
Right.
Now,
and now I think it's I like the way they taste because I like the way they make me feel. Again, it's almost something in your brain that switches.
And it is still, like for me, it is still hard to avoid the sugar and stuff. Like there's cookies out there in the fridge right now, a whole bunch of Christmas cookies, and I walk by, I'm like, shit, I want one of them. But then I also know that I'm going to pay for it. So, I mean, you got to obviously draw a line and find a balance, but I think to start, try just drinking all water, get rid of all the other drinks you're drinking, get rid of as much processed food as you can, and just, eat as much fruits, vegetables.
You know what was big for me for when I started drinking water? Get a water bottle or just like a gallon jug and like make, for the gallon jug thing, make some markers on it. So make a mark up top where it's like you need to be here by 9 a.m. Make a mark here, say you need to be here by noon. Like set goals for yourself. Carry that thing around all day. It'll really help. If you just tell yourself like, I'll drink water when I see it, you won't get enough in you, and you're going to just get something out of the soda machine.
And also, when you drink water, it makes you feel more full. So people who are overeating and kind of making themselves feel like shit that way, it will help you not overeat, eat less.
A lot of times when people think they're hungry, they're just thirsty, and they just need water.
Definitely. Like Mass, I carry around a 40-ounce thing, and I drink at least 3 a day.
Yeah.
Make sure I fill it up at least 3 times.
And you're good. Yeah, everybody in here has a water bottle. They carry it around all the time. Invest in one. It'll do you a lot of good for sure. Next on the list is exercise.
Hand in hand.
Yeah, diet and exercise, man. Like these are the two big ones. The video Greg just referenced that I shot talking about some of this stuff. Just start anywhere. Like you don't have to start at a CrossFit gym or at any gym, really. Just start tomorrow. Do like 10 burpees or do 10 push-ups.
Go for a walk, anything.
Go for a walk, like whatever it is. And then the next day, do a little bit more. Just give yourself a 10-minute window, 15-minute window, and just get the blood pumping a little bit. Like I mentioned, serotonin in the diet and why that's important. Exercise, you're hitting all the other ones. You're looking at endorphins is a huge one.
Which
Dopamine.
Are extremely low as you're coming.
Extremely low.
Starting to withdraw and stuff. That's because you don't have that dopamine.
This is the whole reason I started exercising in the first place. Dopamine and endorphins. Like exercise is a great way to naturally produce those hormones, and they just really make you feel good, and it's 100% worth it. Again, you almost have to biohack your body a little bit. You have to trick your body into producing these chemicals that you were getting before through some sort of substance, heroin or whatever it is. Now you got to find ways to create them on your own. Exercise is a really simple way to do that. I'm not going to say easy because it's not.
Well, you made a great point early in this video, and you said start these things before. Because we get so many comments, like we'll talk about exercise, and people are like, man, I feel like shit. I don't feel like exercising.
I can barely move.
Yeah, that's why you get yourself in the habit of these things before, because like people are like, there's no way, you guys are fake. There's no way you're not withdrawing. Well, not that I didn't do the diet as much, but I did the exercise. And I did that all before I started getting to the withdrawal process. So by the time I got there, I felt much better. Even diet I did a little bit, not like I am now. But I did these things before to make the withdrawal easier. Now again, it's not that I didn't withdraw at all, but it was a lot easier than it probably would have been.
Absolutely. If you get yourself in a habit, any habit, it's going to be easier to hang on to. You can't start a habit when you're withdrawing.
That.
You know that's not going to happen. Start it on the front end. Get yourself in this groove. You're going to be feeling better about yourself. You're going to be seeing results. Like you'll see this stuff working. So then when you're starting to come off or taper off completely, you're already going to have the momentum to help push you through this thing.
I would even go as far to say if you're at a low dose where you're not really feeling great, I would say increase your dose, start diet and exercise, and then come back down again. Because I think that's going to help you a ton.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody, all the comments that we get, people are like, I'm good from, on Suboxone from 16 milligrams all the way down to 1 milligram, and then I fall apart.
Yeah, or 2, yeah.
Yeah, or with Methadone, the same thing. I'm fine the whole way tapering down, but I can't get off. And it's because you don't have, like, you need, you can't go from, well, you can, but it's very difficult to go from heroin to nothing.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, me neither.
We talked about that this morning because Matt was sick over the weekend with the flu type stuff. He's like, I don't know how people do it. He said, I couldn't do it without a maintenance program.
Brutal. But you can't go from heroin to nothing. It's very difficult without the maintenance program. It's also just as difficult, I think, to go from the maintenance program to nothing without something in between there. And that's the diet and the exercise and the mindfulness and, getting rid of temptation. Like, you have to put these in. You have to look at this as your next maintenance program. Like, that has to be the next bridge that you have to cross. And that'll lead us right into the fifth thing that I think you should implement before your taper, and that's getting yourself into some new social circles. And a lot of these we recommend have something to do with exercise or diet, but essentially the important part about this one is you're surrounding yourself with a group of people where heroin or Suboxone or Methadone isn't really on the conversation list. It was good for me to just completely remove myself from that world 100%. I kind of found that through CrossFit. I think Greg, same thing. Like, we came in here, nobody's talking about heroin. Everybody's talking about like deadlifts and exercise and eating healthy, and you just shift your perspective to a whole different world.
Yeah, definitely. Again, we get a lot of comments saying like, "Hell, our stories are ridiculous and they're fake." Why the fuck would we spend our time shooting videos, giving you guys fake information? Right. These videos are meant to help people, right? Like, we run businesses, we have families, we have other stuff to do. Today I'm sacrificing work time to come in and shoot this video. So all this stuff is stuff that actually helped us. Like, these are the actual steps that we did. And I just want people to know that, because if you follow these things, I'm telling you, you will feel better. I don't want there to be doubt in people's mind where they read these comments and they're like, oh, maybe these guys are full of shit. There's no reason for us to lie about this, all right? These are the steps we took, and we're just sharing what helped us.
Yeah, it's huge. And, we talk about this in a lot of our other videos. When Greg and I first started trying to quit heroin, there was nothing. Like, dude, we would Google it.
Yeah.
Like, there was a couple fucking sketchy doctors around our area that have since lost their license for handing out like 8 Suboxone pills and never answering their phone again.
Good luck.
Yeah, and it's a long, shitty road, and the nature of addiction. We didn't want to ask anybody for help. Like, you don't want to talk to anybody about it to admit that you have a problem or that you need help. And it took us a long time to figure it out. And if we knew the shit we knew now from what we went through, it would have been a much shorter, simpler process.
Absolutely. So again, remember these steps. It's get rid of all your temptations, all right? Make sure you're coming down very slow. Many people try to do it too quick. They try to rush it. Get your diet and exercise right, and then form your new social circles. I'm telling you, it will make a world, especially diet and exercise. I think those might be the two biggest.
Yeah.
that is what's the difference between when you guys are getting down to 2 milligrams, 1 milligram of Suboxone, or the 10 to 20 milligram of Methadone, and saying, fuck, I can't get any further. Like, that is the difference, because if you change those things, it's going to make it much easier.
Yeah, and again, start this stuff before you need to. Like, you know, start this stuff way on, you know,
Before you start feeling bad.
Start on the front end. Yeah. Start putting this stuff in. You might not notice a huge difference at first, but when you start to taper off, this is the stuff that you're going to have in your toolbox to get you through that, you know, what has typically been a shitty feeling trying to taper through. You're not going to, it's not going to be the same. Like, you'll have a couple things at your disposal that you can turn to really help you out.
All right, cool. So, I mean, those are some actionable steps. Again, guys, we already have people writing in telling us, like, holy shit, I changed my diet and I feel better. Like, people who've been at it for 20 years who have looked elsewhere who have not been able to make the change. So just try these things. Just give it a try.
Thanks for watching, guys. Do us a favor. Leave us a comment. Let us know other topics that you want us to discuss or give you our opinion on. Hit the subscribe button. Share the video. We're trying to get the word out about Project Unbroken, just to help people who are going through the struggle. So we appreciate you watching. We appreciate all the feedback, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
See y'all.